The doctor hiding among their teammates suddenly vanished, just like a mysterious opening scene in a movie. As Mike was about to enter, he unexpectedly saw Blair leap from the helicopter, charging in like a superhero. Mike sensed something was off and hurried to the helicopter, only to find Blair had turned it into a pile of scrap. Oops, a gunshot echoed from the room, and Mike rushed in to find Blair having a meltdown. He started wrecking all the electronics in the base when Little Black rushed in with even worse news. Blair trashed all the snowmobiles. He killed all sled dogs, clearly not letting anyone escape safely. He's the villain. From another perspective, he might just be trying to prevent the virus from spreading out there, sort of a twisted hero move. Little Black tried to comfort him, but Blair shot him down instead. He's clearly spooked. Who even knows who the replicant is? Eventually, with Mike and the others teaming up, they managed to calm Blair down. They locked him in a small room, and the remaining survivors were totally out of ideas, trapped like caged animals. If the rescue team comes in spring, they might all end up as replicants. Talk about hopeless. Subtitles, so they sought help from Dr. Cooper, who mentioned that blood tests could be used to find the replicants. But when they checked the lab the next day, all the blood bags were drained, just like some grave robbers. With everyone on edge, they started blaming each other. What a messy stew this turned out to be. Just then, Curly rushed into the armory, not wanting to be the next replicate victim. But he was stopped by Mike and the others. The weirder you act, the more you look like a replicant. Helplessly, Curly dropped his weapon and they pulled out the discarded blood bags. They used flamethrowers to dispose of them. Battle preparations are on. Just then, Mike announced that the blizzard would completely cover the base in 6 hours. To avoid any surprises, they had to isolate the 3 most suspicious team members. So, the canine handler Clark and a few others were isolated as if they were about to be interrogated. Just then, the base plunged into darkness and a shadow rushed past. He quickly grabbed a flare and headed out, only to find a discarded piece of clothing in the snow. An hour later, the power in the base came back on. What a heart-pounding experience. Mike remarked that someone had deliberately cut the fuse to result in the blackout. He suspected the monster had attacked a team member during the outage, so he proposed they patrol outside the base. Then they reached the room where Dr. Blair was held and asked if he had heard any strange noises. Blair stated that he had indeed heard something, but it was definitely not a human voice. Just as Mike was returning, he stumbled upon a charred corpse. Turns out it was the glasses guy who had just been there. He was obviously attacked by the monster. Not wanting to hurt his teammates, he chose to self-immolate with the flare to avoid mutation. Mike instructed a teammate to return and inform the others while he continued his patrol. He noticed his room was lit up in the distance, though he had turned it off before leaving. Half an hour passed and Mike and Little Black still hadn't returned. The teammates inside decided to reinforce all the doors and windows. Just then, Little Black returned, suspecting that Mike was the replicant. Yikes. He had found a torn shirt in Mike's room with Mike's name on it. Little Black hurriedly ran back in order to give everyone a warning. Everyone started discussing it. Although they weren't sure if Mike was the replicant, they couldn't afford to be careless. They still decided to leave Mike outside to freeze to death, just to be safe. Just then, they heard glass shattering outside. Mike had smashed a window to climb in. Are you kidding? Everything's done. Subtitles. Mike appeared to have thought of a strategy to deal with the replicants, prompting him to instruct his teammates to tie up Norris. He wanted to draw blood for testing. What a brilliant idea. One of Mike's teammates even said if Mike was a replicant, he could have just torched them right then. Everyone seemed quite tense, revealing the atmosphere of suspense in the air. But still, Little Black remained calm. Mike had no alternative but to threaten with his gun. Just then, a teammate standing by Little Black suddenly launched an attack. Mike swiftly put him in standby mode, and everyone fell in line. Everyone pulled out their blood for testing. The tension was at its peak. Subtitles: he tested the blood with a red-hot copper wire, yet there was no reaction. Everyone let out a collective sigh of relief. Until they tested the pilot's blood and realized Mike was right. New discovery. If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe for more hilarious interpretations.